Welcome to an excerpt a day. My name is Audrey Wright, and today we will be exploring the second violin excerpt from the Overture to Mozart's Magic Flute. As is the case with so many second violin excerpts, this is music that highlights the second violins as they start off an entire fugue section. In the case of Magic Flute, this fugue lasts for essentially the rest of the overture, so it's very important musically, it's exposed, and I think that's why audition committees ask for this excerpt on auditions. Now, the beginning should be energetic, sprightly, and playful. That's the character we're going for. The difficulty, technically here, is going back and forth between the opening piano and the forte outbursts that happen in the first few bars of this music. It's tricky to kind of maneuver that with the bow and keep the texture light and clear. So let's figure out how to go about this. I'm at my balance point for this opening bow stroke. Should be off the string with a little bit of left hand action to keep the sound alive. Something that's bubbly, right? And for the forte, I just drop my bow, kind of sink into the bow, and I'm not using too much bow. I might be going, just past the middle of the bow. And to get back to the piano, I just kind of pick up where I left off. Right here. So I'm not doing any kind of fancy retakes. I'm really trying to be as efficient as possible with my bow distribution and my bow strokes here. Now, in the third and fourth bars, I'm thinking, rather than sinking into the string for these fortes, I'm thinking kind of coming out and just using a little bit more energy with the bow, a little bit of a faster bow to get that forte to speak. And of course, I'm using my left hand to help as well. Now, of course, this is under tempo, what I've been playing. And of course, you want to be practicing this under tempo to really get used to the feeling of this bow stroke and going back and forth between piano and forte under tempo, and then you will work that up to tempo while staying relaxed and tension-free. So I'm really focusing on the fronts of the notes, the articulation, the bite of each note, and then a really nice release after that. If you hear, there's ring after each bite. And it's important to incorporate that, always have, of course, the sound quality in mind at whatever tempo we're playing at, and especially in performance mode, because we don't want to feel like the pianos are fuzzy or getting lost in any way. So keep them nice and articulate. And as I work up the tempo, I'm just trying to maintain the feeling in my upper body that I have under tempo. So as I get faster, I'm not getting more tense or using different parts of the bow or doing anything different. I'm just trying to maintain what I worked at under tempo. Now, in bar 6 here, finally we have a few measures of straight piano, which feels a little bit like a relief after the first 4 bars. I stay in first position here. I find that color-wise it makes the most sense. It's clear, it's bright. But one thing to note, now while I'm definitely a fan of using open strings when it makes sense and when it's appropriate, here I do cover this D. I cover it though for color and bow crossing reasons. If I played an open string there, it would make that bottom C on the G string stick out more than it needs to. So always when you're choosing fingerings, decide, is this fingering helping my ideal sense of color in this line? Is it making a more seamless line overall in the music? And is it helping, to reduce any kind of notes sticking out? And, if the answer is yes, then it's probably a good fingering. Now, here I do stay in first position, just because I like the sound, I like the color of it, and I think it becomes a little bit too heavy for me if I go up to third position. I think this is kind of just a personal musical choice for me. So I stay in first position here, but a really light bow once I attack that sforzando. It's an immediate release. And then I go to third position here. And same approach with these forte outbursts as in the first line, where it's just, I'm not thinking down, I'm thinking out, and I'm just a little bit of energy, faster bow stroke. This music is so Mozartian. It's all about contrast, right? We can find contrast in everything from articulation, of course, to dynamic. And in here, this section, we want to show this dolce that is in complete contrast with the really articulate opening. So try to have as smooth as a slur as possible. And really sing out that line. This is an opera after all. Let's really bring out the singing vocal qualities in the music where they are. Now going on from here, I'm doing that under tempo so you can see that I just do one turn for this trill. I used to try to play a more virtuosic trill here, but it doesn't actually come out. It doesn't quite speak enough. So the energy that you need is all within just a simple turn. And trying to, again, kind of like in the beginning where we're kind of sinking into the string for these slurs. So that we really bring all of those notes out and they're articulate in the left hand. We can hear all the notes. And going on from here, I'm always shaping, I'm always thinking about phrasing. Nothing is ever on one line. We always want to make shapes where they are written. Another contrast. Now, making sure to get this subito forte is very important. Physically, how do I go about doing this? So I really am thinking of the forte as a release physically. It is almost feeling lighter than the music before it. I don't want to feel like I'm bearing down on the music or becoming heavy in any way. So I'm really thinking kind of opening up and light with the bow. Now here, we're thinking kind of majestic in character. For this bow stroke, I'm using a little bit more bow than I was at the beginning, just to get the sound to ring and open up. Same kind of approach with kind of just singing through these 16th notes at the end of each bar. And I didn't go over this in the beginning, but the tendency here with these 16th notes is to rush through them. And so it ends up sounding something that is maybe energetic, but we've lost all of the notes in that figure. So you want to remember, again, even though it's fast, even though it's forte, even though this is very sprightly music, those 16th notes should be still sung. So always thinking to the end of that figure. It's really important to sing through that. Sing through it with the bow and really articulate those notes with the left hand. Going on from here, we can kind of open up, stay nice and grand, and never pressed again. That's too much, that's kind of too weighty. So we really want to just release the bow. We're using speed and we're using vibrato to help us create this warm, open, and golden sound. Now, for these 16th notes, it's really tricky to feel open and create a really beautiful sound with them, just because it's easy to kind of tense up. So we want to try to work as little as possible here. I'm just staying kind of in the middle of the bow. And I'm trying to shape to make these phrases. Again, we never want anything to be flat in Mozart, or really in any music for that matter. So I'm trying to shape, but I'm not using too much bow to do it. The sound will project. We don't have to worry about that. Really here, especially to the upper B flat. I'm really trying to come up to that to really show this beautiful shape. And here, I have sometimes played that divisi in an audition, and other times I've played the double stop. It's kind of up to you and your comfort level there. But making sure that we stay in tempo. Having direction coming out of those sforzandi. And really just thinking joyous in these last few bars. I want to use enough bow on this syncopated gesture here so that, again, we have the contrast of kind of an open singing sound versus the more controlled, more playful. And again, singing through all of these 16th notes so they don't get lost. And being just very gentle and graceful with the last few bars that are in piano. I just kind of lift my arm a little bit. I'm imagining using, one hair. And the last 3 quarter notes, I play all 3 up bows. So there's a feeling of lift on each one of them. I hope this was helpful. A lot of the things that we talked about in this excerpt, I think, can be applied to many Mozart pieces that you may be working on. His music is all about contrast. You can find it in character, in articulation, in dynamics, of course. And really bringing all of these contrasts out will get the music to sparkle, and it will get an audition committee to listen to you in an audition. So happy practicing, and see you for the next edition of An Excerpt a Day.